Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. This is my first ever Yakuza related video on this channel. Today we're going to be talking about Like a Dragon Gaiden, The Man Who Erased His Name, the newest RGG game that just came out. I got into the series back in January of this year, and since then I have played Yakuza 0 all the way through 7, and now I just finished Gaiden, and let me tell you, I had a blast with it. I'm going to warn you guys right now, this video will have spoilers, so if you don't want any spoilers, make sure you go play the game first and then watch this video. Now let's actually start talking about the game. The first thing I want to mention is that you need to play Like a Dragon 7 before you play this game. Yes, I know this game takes place before Like a Dragon 7, but trust me, if you play 7 first, you will enjoy this game a lot more. The story in Like a Dragon Gaiden is so amazing. I think this might be the greatest story RGG has ever made for Kiryu. I can't say anything about the judgments because I haven't played those yet, but Gaiden definitely is the greatest Kiryu story of all time, bro. It is so emotional. I don't cry when I go to a movie theater and watch a movie, but the ending of this game, that last cutscene, dude, I can't even put it into words, bro. For a 5-chapter little mini RGG game that they didn't even need to give us. They did not need to give us this game, but they did, and they delivered. For 5 chapters, we just got peak after peak after peak. Chapter 1 was pretty good. It was a good introduction to what Kiryu's been doing in the Daidoji. You know, nothing too crazy. They're orienting you with the new gadgets, which, by the way, I think the gadgets are pretty cool. The game sometimes tries to force you to use these gadgets by putting you in situations where you're fighting like 50 dudes with guns and knives, and the game just wants you to start spamming drones and throwing your cigarette bomb, which honestly it's fine, because if you don't want to use the gadgets and you want to play like a skilled player, you can, because the difficulty in this game, it's very extreme. The game's pretty hard. Back to the story and pacing. Again, chapter 1 was a great introduction. However, chapter 2 felt way too long. And the reason why it felt way too long is because this game used chapter 2 as a way to get the player to go around in Sultan Bori and do your sub-stories or side quests, because since it's a shorter game, the game needs for you to do it at some point, you know, and it's not a big problem. I didn't mind it too much, even though it felt long. I didn't mind it too much because the sub-stories in this game are actually not a problem. The Akame system is actually pretty interesting, pretty fun. It's not like Kiryu in Kiwami 1 where he's getting scammed in every sub-story. It's actually some interesting stuff. Since we're on the subject of side content, there's a bunch of mini games in this game as well that are so much fun. You've got karaoke with a bunch of songs returning from the previous games that were meaningful to Kiryu's life, such as Bakamitai, Tonight, Hands, and you even got a new song called Sayonara Silent Night, which is such a banger. There's also a bunch of other mini games as well. There's so many, I can't name them all, but some of the classic ones are in the game, such as the baseball batting range and the golf. You know, those are classics in a Yakuza game. They've even got a Sega arcade where you can go in and play old Sega games, dude. You can play Sonic. There's even a freaking NASCAR little race car game that is so much fun. There was literally a time where I was done playing the main story for a night at like 1 o'clock in the morning, so I just sat down in the freaking NASCAR, and I was having so much fun playing that freaking NASCAR game for some reason. I do not know why. I have never won a race, but it's still pretty fun. Even though these are just mini games, there's actually a point in chapter 4 where the game makes you play these mini games as a part of the main story to piss off Nishitani, which I think it was such a great little addition to for some of the people that don't play the side content to actually get to enjoy it as a part of the main story, because the side content in this game, it's pretty good. Then you've got the Colosseum. This has to be the greatest Colosseum in any Yakuza game yet. It is just amazing how much content is in it, bro. There are so many different ways to play. You can even play as other characters in the Yakuza universe, such as Saejima, Majima, freaking Daigo. You can play as Gary, Buster, or Holmes, dude. There's so many different things to do in it. You can even fight all the previous final bosses in robot form to test your skills. It is so much content in the Colosseum. The only problem with the Colosseum is that some of the characters you could play as are kind of lackluster. Their movesets aren't that amazing. Even the freaking Yakuza legends like Saejima, you don't have his full moveset from Yakuza 5. It's kind of lackluster, but dude, at least you get to play as these characters, you know? Let's talk about the maps. I really like it in Yakuza games when they give us multiple places to explore, but just because it makes the game more fun. However, I don't like it when they give us too many maps to explore, because then it just becomes overwhelming. I think this game had the perfect amount of locations. You know, you've got 3 different locations. You've got Yokohama, Sultan Bori, and the castle. All 3 are great. However, Yokohama is a little bit disappointing in this game. In other RGG games, it's one of the biggest areas to explore, but in this game, you're forced to stay in like a little piece of it. You're literally in Yokohama for like the smallest portion of the game imaginable. Its only purpose is because Kiryu needs to deal with the Seiryu clan, and that's it. And you have the little Easter egg where you can visit Ichiban at the freaking homeless shelter. Sultanbori is like the main location in this game, and I think they did a really good job with it, because in other games, Sultanbori is usually thought of as like the second location. You know, Kamurocho is always the first place you're in. But in this game, there's so much content in Sultanbori that it feels so lively. It makes me not care that Kamurocho is not in the game. I can confidently say that this version of Sultanbori is the best one in any Yakuza game yet, and that's a great thing. Lastly, you've got the castle, and I think this is the most creative location RGG has ever made, bro. It's literally a red light district on a freaking cargo ship in the middle of the ocean, dude. Like, how much more creative can you get? I was wondering how RGG was going to manage the pacing between the castle and the other locations, but I think it was done pretty well. You're actually in the castle for a lot of the game. There's a lot of side content to do in the castle, and there's a lot of fun story stuff as well, dude. The long battle that happens in chapter 3 that leads up to the Nishitani fight, so amazing, so much fun. I think they did the castle really well in this. Let's talk about the combat of this game. I'm not super into talking about the details of combat like other Yakuza YouTubers and no damagers, but I can tell what makes good combat, and I can tell you right now that this game's combat isn't bad, but it has some flaws. It isn't the best combat, but when you compare it to other Kiryu Dragon Engine games like Yakuza Kiwami 2 and Yakuza 6, out of those, I think this game does have the best combat. The fact that the style switching in this game is amazing. There's the Asian style and Yakuza style. Both styles really complement each other well. That's one really good thing about this combat. Another thing, there is juggling in this game, which is kind of like a double-edged sword, because you got to be grateful that they put juggling in a Kiryu game. However, there are not many ways to actually start your juggles, which is kind of annoying. My biggest problem with the combat personally though is the fact that you can't parry and bounding throw without going in extreme heat. You need to go in extreme heat to use a bounding throw or a freaking parry, which is so annoying. You should have a parry in your base style. You should have the freaking bounding throws, just because it makes the combat more fun. There's less options now, which is my biggest problem with the combat, but with mods, it's fixable. Now I want to talk about some of the characters in this game, like the main ones, starting off with our protagonist Kiryu or Joryu in this game. One of the biggest things I wanted this game to do is allow me to feel for Kiryu. Like, I want to feel bad, bro, because what this man's is going through in this game, dude, it is sad. He hasn't seen his family in so long, and we really get to live in his perspective for the first time since Yakuza 6. You know, he's supposed to be dead, and here we are, alive again, running around Sultanbori, and the game just does such a great job at resurrecting this character and really reminding us who he is. Even though he's so strong, he is not a murderer. He doesn't kill people. Like that one scene where him and Shishio just defeated Nishitani, and Kiryu's getting ready to walk out the door to carry Nishitani's body out, and he turns around and sees Shishio just stabbing the hell out of Nishitani's body, and Kiryu looking at him like if he's insane. One of my favorite dynamics in this game is Kiryu and Hanawa. I hated Hanawa in the beginning of this game until the scene where the Daidoji literally makes Hanawa shoot Kiryu to kill him, or else they will shoot him. You would think Hanawa would do it. You would think that he would shoot Kiryu, because if he just kills this one person, then his life would be spared. But you get to see that how much he actually cares about Kiryu, to the point where he is willing to die himself instead of shoot Kiryu. He literally puts his gun down, ready to accept his own death, and then we find out that the Daidoji actually weren't planning on killing him. That was such a beautiful scene, and it made me really appreciate Hanawa. And then, of course, at the end of the game, when he gave Kiryu the tablet to be able to see his kids, bro, it's such a peak freaking character. And I also hear rumors that Hanawa might be Morinaga from 5, bro. I don't know if it's true, but apparently it might be true. If that's true, that plastic surgery must have been crazy, bro. Tsuruno was also a great character. He started off as an op, but then we found out his true intentions, and he became a pretty good friend to Kiryu towards the end of the game. He was a very great help. He got to fight with Kiryu and Watase versus the freaking 100 million men. Nishitani was also a pretty good character as well. Great villain. Really makes you hate him because of all the torturing he does and stuff, and just how much power he has. You know, you want to hate the villain of your game, and Nishitani really makes you hate him, especially when he freaking comes back to life, bro. The greatest character in this game besides Kiryu is Shishido, and I've waited this long to talk about him because I want to talk about him as we talk about the most amazing part of this game, that being the final chapter and the final boss fight. Dude, everything about this final chapter when they arrive to the Omi HQ to dissolve the freaking Yakuza is freaking flawless, dude. They did such a great job at tying in freaking chapter 12 from Yakuza 7, which, by the way, is one of my favorite probably my favorite chapter in all of RGG. They did a perfect job at tying it together with this game. Kiryu's entrance is still as amazing as it's always been, and it still brings chills down my spine. Seeing everything that happens after the dissolution in Kiryu's perspective is something we had never seen before, and they did it perfectly, bro. Freaking that little battle where you're protecting Watase, and then you leave the Omi Alliance HQ and you team up up with a bunch of Yakuza legends from the previous games to fight a bunch more people. And then the final boss, dude, the final boss being Shishiro is so amazing. You really got to see his character come full circle in this final chapter. He betrayed Kiryu because he doesn't agree with the fact that the Yakuza should be dissolved. He doesn't agree with it. He thinks it's disrespectful to their predecessors, which honestly, that point of view is honestly understandable, you know? So it's such a great battle between two opposing viewpoints. But the fight itself, I want to talk about the fight itself because you're seeing it right here on screen right now. This final boss is the best final boss I have played in a Kiryu game yet. The choreography in this battle is so amazing. The way that the fight moves, you're literally freaking hitting each other into different rooms and fighting in these different settings. And it just makes the fight feel so much more lively and dynamic. On the gameplay side of things, Shishiro has so much health, which makes the fight so much longer than some other final bosses, which is so amazing because you really get to enjoy this peak final boss. And the music in this fight, well, the music in any RPG game is always amazing, but specifically this game and this final boss, dude, this final boss music was so peak. It just made me feel a certain way while I was fighting this boss. And dude, this is probably my favorite fight in any Yakuza game. I'm not even gonna try to say something else. I think it's my favorite fight in any Yakuza game. Again, I haven't played the Judgments. All in all, this game was amazing. It exceeded my expectations by a lot. They didn't even need to give us this game, this little side DLC type game, but they still did. And honestly, it's better than some of the mainline games, which is crazy. But yeah, I can't wait for Yakuza 8. I'm going to bring you guys a lot more Yakuza content coming soon. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll see you guys next time.